Hello, my name is Liz Melnick, and I am a math teacher at Dublin Jerome High School, and I am working toward my Master of Education degree in Educational Technology, and this is my professional learning network about prescriptive feedback. We are currently on the homepage of my PLN site, and I used Google Sites to create it, and we have a navigation bar over here on the left side that will take you to all the different pages of my inquiry project. We are on the home page, and that describes the purpose, and the purpose of the site is to explore meaningful and prescriptive feedback to cause students to think critically, be informed about their learning, and become owners of their learning so that achievement and motivation will be increased. In addition, the site explores how educators can receive constructive feedback from their students to identify areas for reflection and growth. From here, I'm going to use the navigation bar on the left side to take you to the introduction page. And I just want to give you some background information as to why I chose this topic for my capstone project. And I really developed this idea during during one of our monthly professional learning community meetings. I am the PLC leader for Algebra 2 and Pre-Calculus, and the leaders meet with our principal every month. And at one of the meetings, she was describing the research by Dylan William, and he has a book called Embedded Formative Assessment. And she was describing to us, she was telling us that if we were providing feedback in terms of comments and also a grade or a score on our students' work, that we were actually wasting our time, because once a student sees the grade, they don't care about the comments, whether they're helpful or whether they're praise. The student, according to the research by Williams, said that once a student sees that score, the learning really stops at that point and they don't use the feedback that's provided. And this really got me thinking about researching feedback, and it got me really interested in learning about effective types of feedback that students would actually use to move their learning forward and to develop their intellect. And then this idea also evolved into, well, how can students also provide me with feedback about their experiences in the classroom? So that's how I really started to develop this project. I will not go through this by each section or word for word, but I do just want to let you know that on my introduction page, you're welcome to read about the summary and the rationale, and I just gave you some background information as to why I chose this topic. The goal that I wanted to attain from my inquiry project in creating this PLN site. I included the standards. I did list Common Core standards for mathematics only because that applies to me as a high school math teacher. However, the information, the knowledge, the skills, the resources for this inquiry topic of prescriptive feedback can really be used or integrated at any level, any discipline, any teacher. It does not have to be mathematics, can use this information, which I hope you do. I also included the net standards for students, for teachers, and also the P21, the Partnership for 21st Century Skills, some of the student outcomes that I would want students to get from these strategies of feedback that I learned about during my capstone experience. Here was the timeline of my inquiry, and also the impact and outcomes. And I do go into more detail of this, especially on the page of my reflection. I do go into more detail about what I gained and what were the results from this experience of researching feedback for students and teachers. So that's the introduction page. From there, use the navigation toolbar and you can go to my annotated bibliography. And the annotated bibliography includes all of my resources that I used during my research. Some of them were journals, scholarly articles that were published. Some of them were commercial resources. Some of them were videos. And If you're interested in going into more detail, you are welcome to click on any of these links. For example, this was from the Teaching in Higher Education Journal, and it'll just take you to that PDF if you want to read the entire article, and it opens up an additional tab. I just thought that was easier. And then you can go back to my PLN site, and that'll just get you back to the annotated bibliography. For example, some of them were commercial sites. So Battelle for Kids is a nonprofit education research company, and this will take you to their site if you want to get any information about that. This was their site where students were able to take a survey to give me feedback, and I'll go into more detail about that in just a little bit. And then as you scroll down, again, these are just more of my research articles. One that I would highly recommend, like I said, that really got the ball rolling with this topic of feedback, was the book by Dylan William, and that is called Providing Feedback That Moves Learning. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the chapter. The book is called Embedded Formative Assessment. So you are welcome to click on that link. It even takes you to the Amazon account for this book, or the Amazon page, just because if you have any time this summer, this is a book that I would strongly recommend. I usually don't recommend additional work for the summer because I know that we are all enjoying it right now, but if you have some extra time, this is certainly a book that I would recommend. It was very enlightening, and it really challenged some of the ideas and practices that I've had in the past. So that was probably the most enlightening book and enlightening research that occurred during this project. So that is my annotated bibliography. Then I also have my documents and my resources. The first thing I want to talk about was called the student experience. And the student experience is a product, it is a survey that was created by Battelle for Kids, the nonprofit education group, and another company called Gallup, and they created a survey for students to complete to provide their teachers with feedback about their classroom experiences. Now, we've all had to experience OTES this past year, but all the OTES gives you at the very end is it gives you a grade, it gives you a rating, it tells you if you're ineffective, developing, skilled, or accomplished. Now, what the student experience, though, does is that it provides teachers with feedback directly from their students that focuses on classroom hope, engagement, belonging, and management. Now, I would say just for me, after the OTES evaluations were done and, I was told that I was skilled, I really didn't have anything to reflect on, and I really didn't have anything that I was thinking about improving for the next year. It was just like, okay, my evaluation's done, it's been submitted, let's move on. How this survey was different is that students were able to give me feedback about their specific experiences during their class time, and this made me realize that I have some areas of strengths that are strengths and some areas that are weaknesses, and it kind of pinpointed those for me. So I used the student experience survey developed by Battelle for Kids, and it really was enlightening to see what they had to say about their experience in my class. I have an informational video if you want to know about this product. This product does have to be purchased by your school. I was able to do a trial run of it just because I know someone who does work at Battelle for Kids, so they were able to let me try it out for this capstone experience. I let them know what I was doing, and they were happy to do that for me. And the way that students take this survey is they take it on a computer, a cell phone, or a tablet. And for my students, all of my students have smartphones or iPads, and I brought in a couple extra iPads just in case of any personal malfunctioning issues. And they were able to access the survey either using one of the three ways: a provided QR code that they could take a picture of and get straight to the survey. They could have used a provided URL, or a specific access code, because once they went to the website, the studentexperience.org, they could put in this access code if they wanted to as well. So 3 options. The survey only took about 10 minutes for my students to complete. It did not take up much instructional time, and that 10 minutes I would say is worth the information that I was able to get and to see the results and to see what my students had to say. There is a video here that I did show before students took the survey, just so that they know that the survey was not something that was linked to any grades or anything like that. The results, I have results for my 3 classes that I did this survey with. I did it with my 3 pre-calculus classes, and once the surveys were complete, this product, the student experience product, gives you a report that's detailed on those 4 key themes that I talked about. So I'm just going to click on this first one here for my second period pre-calc class, and it lets you know how to review the survey results and how you can respond to them. And it breaks it down into the different measures, the different themes of hope, engagement, management, and belonging. And it also provides the survey items that the students completed. So on a 1 to 5 scale, they rated all of these items. These were the items for hope, and then, so on. At the very end, this was the most enlightening of the reports that I got, was at the very end. It provides you with a summary of the strengths and summary of growth opportunities. And this is more effective and more informative than an OTES survey that I got. For my students to tell me that something I need to work on is learning about student interests is eye-opening for me. This just shows me that I need to be taking time in class to learn more about my students and what they do and what they're interested outside of the classroom. And this really made me realize that I get too worked up on trying to get, more examples in or more instruction in, where I really just need to take some time out of the day and say, what's going on, what's new, what are you up to these days? Because if I'm not building those relationships with my students, then their learning outcomes are not going to be as motivated, they're not going to be as interested, they're not going to respect me as much. So that's something that I personally would like to work on, and that survey really showed me an area that I would like to improve on for next year. Now, I completed this survey at the end of the school year just because of the timing of this class, but this is something that I would like to do right after the first quarter, after the first grading period. I would like to get student information right away, just so that I can then use that information. It's more meaningful. I can use the data and start improving in the school years so that students realize that their responses are going to affect the classroom climate this year. Their responses are actually going to affect them, not just students in the next school year. So that's an example report. I had 3 of those for the 3 classes that I participated in the survey. And then I also included a TED Talk. I love TED Talks on education. And this one's by Bill Gates. He's a founder with Melinda for the Gates Foundation, and they also contribute to Battelle for Kids. And this is his perspective just on teacher feedback, which I found very interesting because, like I said, we seem to just get a 1-word rating that really doesn't tell us how we can improve. Telling us that we're developing or skilled or accomplished really doesn't move us forward. Where getting feedback from students, getting feedback from ourselves in different ways is more effective than just an OTES rating. So I invite you to watch this video. It's only 10 minutes. It makes you think a little bit. So that's going to be the end of my first part. I'm going to continue talking about my PLN site in the second part here in part 2.